ago, so you were telling me you've worked for four different representatives.
That's correct. Yeah, I've been the legislative director for four separate representatives, including Abdullah. So it was Andrew Kandrevis, Julie Plawecki, Lauren Plawecki, and now Abdullah. And I've been pretty much on this entire floor of my professional legislative career. So it's been interesting. They've all been very different. I've been very lucky to work for each of them. They've all been great in their own ways. So it's been a great experience, and I'm happy to be working for Abdullah. And I started with him in January, so it hasn't been too long.
Right. Before we get into that, could I get you just the spelling of your name? Or if you could just spell
Yeah,
it?
absolutely. So it's Joseph Sullivan, and that's JOSEPH SULLIVAN.
And so you policy work. What does that mean? What is
So the funny thing about these positions is they're always really difficult to describe because we do a little bit of everything. So the legislative director is essentially in charge of the office, and really they handle the policy and managerial aspects of the office. So managing the staff, making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and then also developing the policies or really the ideas that the legislators have or how they want to run the office. So if they want to do a town hall, you help them set that up. You help them connect them to the appropriate people. If they want a bill, they get you the idea. You talk to who you need to make that bill into a reality. And then as far as constituent services, they have oversight over that, but really that's more of the front desk general day-to-day responsibility.
right? It's really kind of psychic.
Yeah, I mean it's always very close knit. It's almost like a little family.
Well, so it's your job to kind of put his ideas, and to paper, so you to have very intimate conversations with him. You have to know him very well and what he wants, right? Is that true?
Yeah,
What does that
like
look
like I said, it's a very close relationship. Trust is one of the most important things. So I have to be able to trust him, and he has to be able to trust me. So he runs all of his ideas by me, and I look at those ideas, let him know what's feasible, maybe shift some of the thought process on some of them and change it up a little bit. But generally, my mission is to make his ideas into a reality. So the things that he wants to do, the goals that he has set for himself, I want to try to do whatever I can.
So, what do you think? You've worked with other representatives. Is there anything unique that you've seen with Abdullah? Is there something that, like a quality that you think he possesses that?
Yeah, I mean they all share a lot of similar traits. They're all very driven, motivated, great people to work with, trustworthy. He's one of the younger. I mean, Lauren was obviously a little bit younger, and there were different circumstances surrounding her taking the office. But he's younger. He's very energetic. He has a lot of ideas. He's constantly coming up with ideas. So I think he's very idea driven. But like I said, all the representatives I've worked for have been fantastic, and they're all just slightly different. And a big part of the process of the first few months of working for them is just kind of feeling them out, understanding how they want the office to be run, and understanding ultimately what their goals are, and working with them. And generally, there's a feeling out period, of course, but for him particularly, I just think he comes up with great ideas, lots of bill packages. He's worked across the aisle very well. He's worked with members in his own party very well, and he's gotten himself involved with several conversations for policies and bill packages.
Well, do you think So he's idea driven. Are there any setbacks to that when it comes to making that a reality? Because things look different on the floor.
As far as like the feasibility of some of the
Feasibility,
ideas,
opposition from his peers.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, there's political parties for sure, and there's different political ideologies, and some of the ideas he comes up with may be more democratic or progressive leaning than are generally feasible for the current legislative climate in our state. So some proposals that we have might not necessarily get a committee hearing or might not be brought up because certain groups may be opposed to them or certain politicians may be opposed to them. So a part of the process is trying to find an avenue for not only introducing legislation, but once legislation is introduced, to try to find a path for it to proceed forward.
Right. Do you think him being an Arab American has had any setbacks so far?
None that I've seen directly. I think a lot of people, he might be the first real interaction that they've had with an Arab American. So I've maybe seen him change maybe a few misconceptions that people have had out there. A lot of the interactions he's had, he has a very positive personality. He always tries to find a way to make things work, trying to find a way to work with people. So I've really seen him reach out and make friends maybe with people that I wouldn't have expected, from people up north or in rural parts of Michigan. I don't know if I would say there's really been any specific setbacks, because he's shown that he's willing to be a team player and try to move forward on policy proposals, especially things that come through his committee. He's had a great working relationship with committee members and his committee chairs to try to advance the legislation before those committees.
Do you think he's got, like, going through the process of putting the policy making process, do you think he's got, and again, I just want to push you on the question, any, I guess, unique, like, techniques or qualities that he can kind of navigate to be able to make this happen? I mean, some things that he might be able to see that some other representatives usually don't look at. Some are more like budget driven. Some are more like, I'd like to do what my constituents want me to do. What's he like?
Yeah, the delegate trustee argument. Ultimately he wants to do what's best for the district, and I think one of his best qualities is his ability to build coalitions around various legislative proposals or ideas that he has. So he's done a great job of reaching out to different groups to try to get them motivated behind the legislative bill packages that either he or somebody else is introduced, if he sees that as a benefit not only for his district but the state of Michigan as a whole.
Where do you see his future? And we're not talking just about re-election. I mean, and moving from that, do you think, what do you think other representatives or to-be representatives can learn from Abdullah Hammoud, aside from him being able to reach across the aisle? But is there something that, if I would ask him, what would your message be to young prospective politicians, legislators?
I think one of the main things he brings up is it's impossible to be a policy expert on everything, and that he is here to learn and to gather in and take in different people's perspectives. And also, ultimately, the job and any elected office is about relationships. It's about building relationships, strengthening relationships, and using those relationships to move what they view in a positive direction for not only their district but all the state's residents.
Yeah. I think that's very good. Unless there's something else that I might be missing. I mean, something that you know about him that I don't, or his constituents don't know. I mean, which is hard because if you go to even just his inauguration, it's like half of the audience were his friends, his high school friends. Amazing. But is there something that they might not know?
I think one of the quickest things about him is, or one of the best qualities that he has, is he's an unbelievably quick learner. And it seems like he's been here for a term or two already, even though he was just here 6 months ago. He's been here for 6 months and he's already developed so many good relationships, and it's just been really amazing to see how quickly he's developed and really inserted himself into a lot of conversations of different groups. I mean, he's starting a millennial caucus, which is something that's never existed here before, in my opinion. And he's worked across the aisle on a lot of different bill packages, which is really remarkable for somebody that just took office 6 months ago. But like I said, everything's built on trust with him and building relationships. So I think if you have those two things, everything else will naturally follow into place.
Right. Tell me just briefly about that millennial caucus.
Yeah, I would say he started a millennial caucus with, I'm not sure it's been announced yet, but with Representative Lilly. So it's going to be a bipartisan millennial caucus where they're putting together younger legislators to try to move forward more younger ideas. And I'm not sure they have a policy platform yet, but it's definitely something that's in the works.
Right. Awesome. Anything else you guys think you missed? Anything else you want to say about Abdullah? How it's been working with him?
I've only been here for a few weeks, but I like the question you asked about future politicians and the bill. I hope to one day at least run for public office. That's like my dream. And since I've been here, he's just made it seem possible. Like anyone can do it. Like if you work hard enough, and like it's hard to say, like
Can we do this? Can we
Yeah,
put
sure,
point the
absolutely.
camera?